Live from the National Veterans Resource Center, this is the Student Government Association Executive Debate, presented by CitrusTV.
Good evening, and welcome to the Student Government Association's Executive Debate in partnership with CitrusTV. My name is Thalia Benton-Deneen, and I am the Chair of the Board of Elections for the 69th session. I would first like to acknowledge with respect the Onondaga Nation, the Firekeepers of the Haudenosaunee, the indigenous peoples on whose ancestral land Syracuse University now stands. Thank you all for joining us tonight, whether in person or online, to hear directly from the candidates as they discuss student life on campus. I would like to thank CitrusTV for their continued partnership in hosting this debate annually, our support in student engagement, and the members of the Board of Elections for their tremendous help this election cycle. Before we begin, please note that in the event of an emergency, the exits can be found in the back of the auditorium, on the sides, located under the exit signs. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy tonight's presentation.
Thank you, Thalia. And with that, welcome to the Student Government Association Executive Debate presented by CitrusTV. I'm Jackson Breslin.
And I'm Isabella Galan. As the official student governing and advocacy body for Syracuse University and SUNY ESF undergraduates, SGA works with the university's administrators to listen, respond, and take action to improve the student experience for all.
We find ourselves at a turning point in Syracuse University's history. A new chancellor and athletic director are set to usher in a new era at SU with the need to adapt to the changing collegiate environment at the forefront. Tonight, candidates for president, vice president, and comptroller will answer questions about how they plan to assist in this change and lead the university's student government, which represents more than 15,000 undergraduates.
In addition to the undergraduate population, the Student Government Association also represents more than 300 recognized clubs and organizations on campus. SGA's finance board, led by the comptroller, manages your student activity fee to fund these clubs, and that is where we begin tonight.
Ryan Boucher is this year's uncontested candidate for comptroller. He is a junior studying finance and real estate in the Martin J. Whitman School of Management, originally from Fort Covington, New York. He's served on SGA since fall of 2025. Ryan, welcome. Ryan, you have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
All right. Good evening. I'd like to start by thanking the Board of Elections for organizing this debate and the National Veterans Resource Center for hosting us in this space. My name is Ryan Boucher. I'm a junior in Whitman School of Management, and I'm a first-generation college student. Both my parents started college but never had the opportunity to finish their degrees. Because of that, being here today is something I don't take lightly. I'm also from the Akwesasne Mohawk Reservation in upstate New York. Coming to Syracuse was something that was not laid out for me. It was something I had to figure out on my own. And to be honest, there was a point where I almost didn't stay. I reached a moment where I felt out of place and seriously considered going home. And I didn't feel connected, and I wasn't sure where I fit in on this campus. But instead of leaving, I made the decision to get involved. Through that, I found purpose in leadership. I made it a priority to get involved in communities that shaped who I am. I served on the executive board of Indigenous students at Syracuse, where I worked to support and represent Indigenous voices on this campus. I've also been actively involved with my fraternity Pi Kappa Alpha, where I've built strong relationships and developed leadership skills in different environments. Those experiences gave me a broader perspective. I've worked with students with different backgrounds, different interests, and different needs, and that perspective is crucial in a role that serves an entire student body. Today, I serve as the Associate Comptroller and sit on the Finance Board, where I've worked on directly reviewing budgets, allocating funds, and helping student organizations navigate a system that can often feel complicated. More importantly, I've had the opportunity to advocate for students in decisions that directly impact their experience on this campus, and that matters now more than ever. Syracuse University is entering a period of real change. With a new chancellor and evolving university policies, the way student organizations operate and access resources is going to shift. In moments like this, leadership matters. Students need clarity, organizations need support, and the system needs to work for them, not against them. And that's why I'm running for comptroller. My focus is simple. I want to make sure organizations are not left guessing, not left waiting, and not left out of the conversation. That starts with transparency. Organizations deserve clear communication and real understanding on how decisions are made. It continues with collaboration. This role is about working directly with student organizations and listening and helping them navigate change. And it requires accountability. Every dollar of the student activity fee should create real value for students. I've worked inside this system. I've seen where it works and where it falls short, and I know how to improve it. I know what it feels like to question whether you belong here, and I also know what it feels like to find your place on this campus. And I'm running to make sure every student has the same opportunity to find their place.
Ryan, thank you. We will now have 8 minutes of questions. You have no time limit on your answers.
Starting off, you said you joined Student Government Association this past fall as a member of the Finance Board. What would you say you have learned the most this past year that prepares you to step into the comptroller role?
I think what I've learned that has prepared me for this role is really how Student Government Association works as a whole. Obviously, I've been on the outside part of it and, really haven't had the view to look inside. And now being on the internal side of this organization, I truly have grasped what and how this organization operates and what it really needs.
Ryan, Alexis Leach held this role for 2 years. What did you learn from her term as comptroller, and what would you like to do differently?
What I've learned is that decisions are hard to make when representing a whole student campus. And it's not everyone can be happy, and that's completely okay. But you have to make the decisions that represent an entirety of this campus, not just a select few. And right now in my position, I don't know what I can say to do differently. I think Alexis was an amazing comptroller, and it's going to be hard to fill her shoes.
You, as the comptroller, have a responsibility of overseeing a multi-million-dollar budget every single year. How do you ensure that students trust your ability to handle such a large amount of money paid in by families?
Trust is a hard thing to build, specifically on this campus. Every student, it's hard to see them because we have 15,000 undergrads currently here. And the one thing that I can say is to trust me because I'm here to represent you guys and take a full encompass of the campus when making decisions.
In your role as comptroller, how do you work with the rest of SGA?
So with comptroller managing the student activity fee, you're directly funding the assembly budget, which goes on to promote organizations and programming through student government. And that is consistently answering questions on funding, not only for student government and all the other organizations that come into play for collaborating with events and doing different initiatives on this campus.
And the position of comptroller has been uncontested for a number of years. Why do you think the reason for that is?
Personally, my belief is comptroller is a really mentally taxing position, and you are often in direct scrutiny of all student organizations on this campus. I think it's not a role that any person can step into. I was actually having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and they described the comptroller role as trial by fire. It's something you need to live and learn by being there.
Well, and Ryan, do you feel as though the student body fully understands the role and responsibility of the comptroller and the influence it has? And if not, what can you do to help students gain a better understanding or make the position more attractive for people in the future?
Can I ask you to repeat that question?
Yeah, so can you just tell us how you can help the student body fully understand the role and responsibility of the comptroller for people to maybe run for it moving forward?
Yeah. I think a big thing for the role is just having the clarity. It's obviously something I had really no idea how the comptroller did anything before joining student government. And now being on the inside, it's really hard to see and understand without being there. And so one thing I really want to focus on is being in meetings with student organizations that are often having troubles and having clear communication with them to kind of help them understand the processes and how decisions are made.
And with organizations on campus who may be a little bit disheartened by some of the funding decisions you have to make as the comptroller, what do you want to say to them?
This is going to be a big next year, stepping into the comptroller role, and I really want to be there to support you and your organizations. My door is going to be open. My email box will probably get filled up, but I will always be there to answer them as fast as I can. I know what it feels like to be the organization that is getting your budget cut or denied, and you don't really know why. And that is something I really want to change going into this next year, having clear communication with the exec board of multiple organizations and helping them understand why the decision happened.
A little bit of a different question, but we hope you'll try to make it work. It's a little bit of a rugby pun there. But you were a teacher for a 5-week-long rugby program at the Syracuse Jewish Community Center last semester. Are there any aspects of rugby or any athletics that you've been a part of that transfer over into a leadership position in student government?
It's hard to make a direct connection, but the one thing I will say is I've played sports my entire life, growing up playing hockey at age 4 until I inevitably had to stop at 18. But it's all about leadership. You learn how to work as a team, how to work in an organization, especially with rugby. I joined my freshman spring, and I've loved it ever since. And being able to go to the Jewish Community Center and teach the game that I've learned to love to the next generation of rugby players has really been a special moment for me in my time here.
Now, Ryan, the Daily Orange reported this week that SGA is revising its constitution, and with it, it will rework the current funding tier system for RSOs. What can you tell us about the proposed new system, and how will it streamline RSO funding?
What I'd like to say right now at this moment is with the reorganization of our Constitution and all governing bodies, what I really want to work forward for, especially the fiscal codes, is making them easier for students to understand. I remember my first time reading through them, it's very tough language and very difficult to understand from an outside source. And I really want to make it easier for students to understand the exact rules and policies that are in place for their organizations.
And how do you plan to delegate to the rest of the finance board so everything doesn't just end up on your shoulders as comptroller?
Next year, I'd really like to start the work of associate comptrollers early on in the fall semester, and I think that just becomes a trickle-down system where work will come to me. I can put it to the associate comptrollers or finance board members and really work on communication with the finance board as a whole. I think it needs to be very utilized, especially having a 12-person team to run the finance board. Is you have so many different students all across campus that, you know, they really make up the finance board and have different backgrounds. And being able to utilize them next year will be a huge asset in making decisions for the entire campus.
Well, as you mentioned in your opening statement, you're a very busy person. How do you plan to balance your time between being comptroller, working with your fraternity, and your sports? Do you feel you have enough time for all your roles in all your different organizations?
I'm sure every student can feel this, you know, joining different clubs and organizations and feeling the weight that can come onto your shoulders. I actually enjoy the pressure. I thrive under it, and I like staying busy. It helps my mental health, definitely. And looking towards next year, I am becoming a senior, so I will inevitably phase out of being an active or a super active member within my fraternity, as I really want to focus on the campus and student government and making sure that next year is a really positive year.
Thank you, Ryan. That concludes the questions for our comptroller candidate. You now have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Tonight, you heard a lot about budgets, policies, and systems. Those matter, but at the end of the day, this role is about the people. It's about every student who is trying to build something on this campus, every organization that needs support, and every idea that deserves a chance. We are heading into a year of real change, new leadership, new policies, and new expectations. This role matters now more than ever. You deserve someone who will be transparent. You deserve someone who will communicate clearly, and someone that will make decisions that put students first. I am committed to that. I'm committed to making sure every dollar is used with purpose. I'm committed to making sure every organization feels heard, and I'm committed to building a system that works for all students, not just a few. But I did not get here alone. I want to thank CitrusTV, Isabella, and Jackson for moderating and giving us a platform to speak. I want to thank Alexis Leach for stepping up and setting the standard for this role. I'm prepared for this role because I had you as a mentor. Herman Nolavos and Asher Gonzalez, thank you for your time, your support, and your belief in me. And to my parents and brother watching at home, thank you for everything you've sacrificed to get me here. And you will always be the people I can call when life gets hard. And most importantly, thank you to the students. This is your money, your organizations, and your college experience. This campaign's never been about me. It's always been about you. And if given the opportunity, I will lead with transparency, I will lead with accountability, and I will work hard every single day to make sure that this next year is the best that campus has seen.
That was candidate for Comptroller Ryan Boucher. Ryan, thank you. After the break,
Welcome to my house.
After the break, we will hear from the candidates for president and vice president.
You're watching the SGA Executive Debate presented by CitrusTV. We'll be right back.
Welcome to my house. Lately, not my happy place. Everybody's pretty tired of each other. The parents were not themselves. My little brothers were morphing into small creatures. The walls were closing in. Clearly, a case of too much family, too close, 24/7. And there's a lot of that going around right now. If this sounds like your house, try going someplace new. YourLifeYourVoice.org. You'll find lots of ideas to help you handle the family stresses of being confined to close quarters. YourLifeYourVoice.org. It might not get you out of the house, but it could help you find a little more breathing room.
This is the Student Government Association Executive Debate, presented by CitrusTV.
Welcome back to the Student Government Association Executive Debate presented by CitrusTV. I'm Jackson Breslin.
And I'm Isabella Galan. Before the break, we heard from Ryan Boucher, the uncontested candidate for Comptroller. Now, taking the stage are candidates for President and Vice President, Emily Castillo and Max Latchett. This race is also uncontested.
Emily is a sophomore with dual majors in policy studies and citizenship and civic engagement at the Maxwell School. She is originally from Doral, Florida, and has served on SGA since the fall of 2024. Emily currently serves as the Speaker of the Assembly and Senator.
Max Latchett is a sophomore with triple majors in biotechnology, biochemistry, and neuroscience in the College of Arts and Sciences and the Renee Crown Honors Program. He is originally from the Syracuse area and currently serves as the Speaker Pro Temp of SGA. Max is also a student manager for the men's basketball team and a research assistant at Upstate Medical University.
The pair will have 2 minutes each for opening statements. Emily and Max, the floor is yours.
Good evening. First, we'd like to thank the Student Government Board of Elections, CitrusTV, University Administration, Student Engagement, and the National Veterans Resource Center for hosting us tonight. Syracuse University is a very special place, a place that opens doors and opportunities for many like myself. But what truly makes this university special is those who care and have a passion for it, like each of you here tonight or the ones watching at home. You make this university what it is because you care, because you wake up every morning thinking about how to show up for others. And that's why we're here today, because we get inspired by students like you. My name is Emily Castillo Melian, and I'm deeply honored to stand here today as a student body presidential candidate for the 70th session of the Student Government Association at Syracuse University and SUNY ESF. What I bring to this position is not just a deep understanding of this organization and university. It is a voice for students and for every individual who deserves a seat at the table.
As a first-generation college student and proud daughter of immigrants, my journey to Syracuse is rooted in sacrifice, resilience, and opportunity. I am here grateful and committed to the university that believed in me enough to open its doors. Syracuse gave me the power to lead and the drive not just to find my place here, but to create space for others, to ensure that every student feels seen, supported, and empowered in their own journey.
And my name is Max Latchett, and I'm proud and humbled to be the student body executive vice presidential candidate. I grew up right here in the Syracuse University area and spent my life watching this campus grow. I've been a lifelong Syracuse fan. I've sat in the stands dreaming about what it would mean to be a part of this community, and now I have the privilege of serving it. This university is not just where I go to school, it's home. And like any true Syracuse student, I've experienced it all: the excitement, the late nights, the dining hall food, and yes, leaving the house in sunshine and coming back in a snowstorm.
We are here today not simply because we wanted this role, but because we truly believe that our shared experiences, unique leadership styles, and deep passion for this university makes us the right team to lead the student body. Through our time at SGA, Max and I have collaborated on initiatives, navigated challenges, and learned how to lead alongside one another. We know each other's strengths, we push each other to be better, and most importantly, we're united by the same goal: delivering real results to students. And that foundation matters because leadership is not just about ideas, it's about execution. And execution requires a team that is prepared to hit the ground running on day one. Our campaign is called Promise to Progress and follows 3 key pillars: being connected, clear, and committed to the student body. Connected by building a bridge between the incoming university administration and students to ensure that student voices are heard during this critical transitionary period. Clear by strengthening transparency between SGA and the student body by appointing a press secretary to improve our communication channels. And committed to efficiency by working with student organizations so that they can focus on what they do best: improving the student experience for our campus community.
But beyond policies and structures, this campaign is about people. Every student has a story, every voice matters, and every idea has the power to change this campus. Emily and I understand both the opportunities and the challenges that come with navigating Syracuse. We believe that student governments should work with students, not just for them. We see a campus where opportunities are accessible, where concerns are heard and addressed, and where innovation and community thrive side by side. We've always lived by the mantra that there are reasons and there are results, and people only care about one. Leadership is measured in outcomes, not excuses. And under the Promise to Progress ticket, we will bring tangible, measurable results to the Syracuse community and have courage to be more. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily and Max. We will now move to our first round of questions. This round will consist of 16 minutes of questions. Candidates, you have no time limits for your answers.
Emily, Germán Olivos held your position for 2 years. What do you think were his biggest improvements during his time as president, and what do you think he could have improved on?
Germán Olivos did an amazing job as student body president. He has dedicated many countless hours and true dedication to this organization and university, and is, without a doubt, is leaving a lasting impact for students and for many generations to come. One thing that he improved a lot was improving the internal organization within student government. He created more initiatives, made more positions to make sure that we had a greater outreach on students. However, with this role, it is a very demanding role, and the student government works for students, but we cannot work without student input. Increasing transparency is always something that we hope to improve on, and something our administration is really focused on improving. We want to appoint a press secretary that will serve as a communication channel between the student government, student bodies, and all local news outlets to make sure that students know that we are the student government for them, to let them know what resources they have, and if any issues, concerns that they have throughout their time at this university, they know that they can always come to us and bring their issues so that we can address them.
For both of you, what is your plan to work with the new Chancellor-elect Mike Haney to ensure that students' voices are being heard and fairly represented?
With the incoming chancellor, we understand this is a very critical transitionary period, and we want to ensure that student voices are not being left out of the rooms where decisions are being made. One thing that we've already done in our tenure as Speaker of the Assembly and Speaker Pro Tempore is pass a resolution affirming our commitment to working with the administration and making sure that he and his administration knows that we want to work with him, make sure we can provide as many resources as we can. One thing that we want to implement is a Chancellor Transition Executive Council, an initiative built by the Student Government Association and led by student leaders who will make sure we can meet with his team, meet with his administration, and offer as many student support and information as we can to make sure that student voices aren't being left out of these rooms.
And one thing worth mentioning during the first 100 days of the Chancellor's tenure here is going to be over summer break. And one thing that is very prevalent is that student voices are not able to be heard over summer break usually. One thing unique to us as candidates is I'm a Syracuse local, and I'd be able to be here, present, and sit in on any meetings where a student voice would be important, or any conferences or any decisions that are made that student voices need to be heard at.
Well, as you mentioned in your opening statement, you've run your campaign with the moniker Promise to Progress. You've also said that you plan to be connected with students. How will you ensure that you are accurately representing the voice of the students across all of Syracuse University's campus, rather than what SGA may think the students want?
One thing that we can say with SGA is for sure a lot of students not only don't really know the work they do, but many students may not feel comfortable coming to us. One thing that we want to do is transforming our permanent initiative, No Problem Too Small, where we always encourage students to give their input so that we have that data when we're having these meetings with senior administrators, but transforming that initiative into a stop by and say hi. During the first week of the fall semester, Max and I, as well as the comptroller candidate, planned a table right outside of Shine during the peak hours so that students can say, hey, these are the student body leaders. Anytime you need something, these are the people you can go to. Making sure that they know their faces so that whenever they have a concern, they know that we are the people they can always go to.
You both have talked a lot about transparency. On SGA's website, under the Transparency and Records tab, you have SGA's Constitution and bylaws, as well as a section for the master legislation list, agendas, and minutes of the current session. However, this has not been updated since the 67th session. Does being connected, clear, and committed to the student body include updating this section of your website during your term?
Absolutely, and one of the major things that we're going to do is increase accountability for all offices of the student government. We're going to work with our Chief of Staff and Director of Internal Operations to ensure that we're auditing all of our offices, including our communications office, for efficiency. Another thing that we're going to do is, of course, have the press secretary, and our press secretary is going to be a liaison between Daily Orange and Syracuse.com, WAR, Z89, CitrusTV, and ensure that all of these outlets are also getting our information and then disseminating it further to the student body. And that's going to even further increase the transparency and presence of student government on campus, something that has been a huge problem in the last decade.
We want to make sure we're increasing transparency both online, which means updating our website, improving our communication social media channels, but also in person. So that's where the Stop By, Say Hi initiative really goes into place, making sure that students know we are the student body president and executive vice president, and they can always feel comfortable to come to us.
Emily, both Herman and Vice President Janice Faison were Posse scholars like yourself. How has the Posse program helped 3 students from South Florida create change here in Syracuse?
Yeah, so the Posse Leadership Scholarship is a national scholarship that selects incoming high school seniors to provide them with the ability to attend higher education by giving a full tuition scholarship. The previous executives, Herman, Janice, and myself, have all been Posse scholars, and this program has completely changed my life. As I said in my opening statement, I'm a first-generation student. My family would have never been able to afford to send me to college, and Posse saw something unique in me. It trained me, it gave me the opportunities, the resources to grow as a student, as a person, and as a leader. And just being able to give back to the campus as well as Posse gave to me is something that has completely transformed my life. And serving already with Herman and Janice, being able to see how they've grown, how they've taken the unique leadership skills that Posse trained them, and being able to learn and just be the little mentee has really transformed my time here at Syracuse.
Max, a question for you. In your role as Community Engagement and Government Affairs Chair, you said your grandfather inspired you to start the first ever SGA's Farmers Market. How important is it to you to involve SGA in the Syracuse community, and how will you continue to do that as Vice President?
Yeah, so a little bit about my grandfather. He used to work in produce before he retired this year, and he's been a huge inspiration to me throughout my entire life, and I look up to him greatly. But the SGA Farmers Market was my pride and joy last year, and I loved hosting that event. And one of the biggest things that it did was invite local businesses and local farmers to sell their goods and services to Syracuse University students, benefiting both Syracuse University students and our local businesses. And I think that we can absolutely be more involved in the greater Syracuse community. One thing that we haven't done that well in the past was involving student government in the local Syracuse community, doing more community service initiatives sponsored by student government. And that's something we hope to expand moving into our administration coming on next year.
Emily, back to you. About 20% of SU undergraduate students identify as first generation. How do you think your experience as a first generation student has influenced your approach to education, and how do you think it will benefit the Syracuse student body?
As a first-generation student, when I first arrived on campus, it was difficult. My parents don't speak the language, so they couldn't really help me when it came to classes, understanding, the Syracuse University website, the resources, the millions of emails you get as a first-year student. And through my time here, being able to join different organizations, different clubs, being able to meet so many different people from every culture, every country in the world has transformed my experience. And while stepping into this role, I want to make sure that I can continue to create those spaces for students, expanding these events, making sure that students, no matter their cultural background, no matter where they come from, can find their place so that once they graduate Syracuse, they're graduating proud to be Orange.
Focusing now on international students, as you mentioned, what is your message to those students who may feel threatened about the federal government's actions in relation to student visa holders?
Our support is always going to be with those students who may be directed or indirectly affected by what is happening on a national level. Under an administration, we want to promote all these resources that we have on this campus that many students may not know of. We have resources with the Barnes Center for those who may be being affected mentally. We have resources with our student legal services and with many other opportunities on campus, making sure that international students know that they have a place on campus. They belong and they are welcomed here, and we want to make sure that they not only feel that, but they know it.
And going back to you now, Max, in February, you sent out an email about a free EKG heart screening at Barnes Health Center in partnership with Who We Play For. 200 spots filled up within 30 minutes, causing you to add 150 more spots just last week. Why do you think signups for this event were so successful, and do you have other events similar to this one that you believe would do very well and have a good turnout like this one?
Yeah, so I think this event is going to be great. It's this Sunday, obviously, so I've been in overdrive preparing for that. And there's been a lot of moving parts with that, but I do think that students do prioritize their health, just like the student government wants to prioritize the health and safety of our students. And that's something that's sort of been ignored in the past to a large degree, and I think that's because most of the people that are taking the roles in student government have largely been Maxwell and Newhouse students. We haven't really seen a pre-med student like myself come into the office, one of the three execs, and I don't know any in the past, so as far as I know, ever. And one thing that I know that I can bring to this role is my expertise in that regard. One thing that we want to do is implement a director of public health initiatives. This director is going to be able to do things like work with the Barnes staff to ensure that student needs and demands with regard to the Barnes Center counseling and mental health awareness are effectively being allocated. Make sure that we continue running events just like this one, just like the EKG event to prevent sudden cardiac arrest. Things like that to really combat health and safety for our student body.
Just last week, the Department of Public Safety shared that a burglary took place off campus on Comstock Avenue around 10 p.m. How will your administration work with the university to ensure that students living both on and off campus feel safe returning from late night classes or activities?
When it comes to safety, that is always our #1 priority as an administration, student safety. So that means working with the Department of Public Safety and Chief Bunker to make sure that we can increase our protocols, make sure that we are increasing that transparency so that students know when they are in these unfortunate situations, they have the resources they can immediately contact.
Yeah, and one thing worth mentioning is that we're also implementing a director of director of public safety within the student government to work as a liaison between us and DPS to ensure that we're having students feel safe and their needs are being met with DPS, because transparency with the students can only do so much. We need to have communicate those needs with the university administration. That's what these liaison roles aim to do. And we hope to do things like walkthroughs with Chief Bunker and other university administrators to see maybe where on campus we need more lighting, or where on campus there isn't enough DPS presence to ensure that students do feel safe when they're coming home at night, and to ensure that students do feel safe at all times.
Well, and to continue with safety, South Campus has been an issue with break-ins in recent months this year, and students on South Campus are separated from campus by miles. How can you work with DPS to ensure that those students who are a little bit further away from campus continue to feel safe?
Yeah, so one thing worth mentioning is Emily and I are both South Campus residents, and as such, we are very well aware of what has been happening in South Campus. And one thing that needs to be publicized is how important it is to lock your door if you are a South Campus resident, because most of these burglaries that are happening are a result of not locking your door. That's something very easy, a quick fix that could solve this. But to build on top of that, obviously the director of safety that we're going to implement is going to work with DPS and ensure that maybe what we need is a bigger DPS presence on South Campus. We could work and advocate for that if that's what students want, and we're going to learn what students want with how transparent we're planning to be with the press secretary and stop by, say hi.
The Daily Orange reported this week that SGA passed revisions to its constitution, which will be voted on during these elections. Can you tell us more about the changes being made and why students should vote in favor of them?
Of course. So the current constitution that we have and we are abiding by under the Student Government Association has not been updated in a very long time. It is countless pages, very complex language, and Max and I, who work in student government on a very daily basis, have often found ourselves struggling to understand the language. So when we came by these constitutions, we wanted to make it in a more simpler manner, updating all the offices, updating our fiscal codes, election codes, so that any student, no matter if you are in the Student Government Association or not, you can read our constitution from our website, know where you can contact if you're looking for a specific office. If you're interested in student government, you can easily read the election codes and not have to put it in an AI detective generator to make it into a simpler language. When we first rose into the constitution issue, it was a lot of this very complicated language that we couldn't understand, and students should vote in favor of it because we are the student government for them, and by making this constitution simpler, we can make sure that all students know their rights and that when they have issues, we can help best address them.
Well, we know that getting students to check their emails, let alone vote in Student Government Association elections, can be a challenge. In 2024, 743 students voted in the general elections, but last year there were more than 2,000 voters, representing roughly 14% of the undergraduate student population. What do you think went right in doubling those voter turnouts, and how do you aim to keep those numbers growing in this election?
Yeah, so let's just take a blast from the past. In fall of 2024, we had a voter turnout of 3%. And the growth that we've seen over time, that credit goes to our predecessors. So first, we'd like to give full credit to our predecessors. They have done a great job increasing our presence on campus. But there is room to improve. Obviously, we need to increase student government presence on campus because at the end of the day, we should be having the majority of students be voting in these elections because the elections do affect them. Most students are a part of an RSO or Greek life, and who is in these roles does have power and direct influence over them. I think what speaks to this the most is the last 3 elections for president and executive vice president have been uncontested. And this is something that's very, very poor because it doesn't represent our organization's democratic values. Having no competition for these seats is something that's not very good for any democracy. And when thinking about how to get more people involved in these roles, it's always increasing transparency and increasing our presence on campus. And that's why we're building a press secretary and increasing efficiency within especially our communications office. But those are some things you could expect to see coming into the next year.
Yeah, and to expand on what Max said, the fact that we are in an uncontested election for 3 years now is a huge issue and something that we want to see improvement on. Recruitment and the importance of expanding our efforts to ensure that students from every college, not just largely Maxwell and Newhouse students, are represented in Student Government Association, are taking on the more leadership roles, is something that is a top priority of our administration. We want to see more students joining and making sure that students know that they have the opportunity to grow into more leadership roles within this organization.
Well, the two of you have obviously worked very closely together since joining SGA. How would you two describe your working relationship with each other, and how important is it for you to have such a healthy relationship with the people that you are working with and collaborating with so often?
I'd say that we are very collaborative. I know I can count on Max for anything. We are two very diverse students, not only in majors but in backgrounds. But I know that if there's a 3 a.m. problem, I can call him and immediately he'll help me solve it. We are a team that focuses on collaborating with each other and our team. Because at the end of the day, being a leader isn't just about being yourself, isn't just about having your own voice, but a diverse group of individuals who are each providing their perspective and voices. Those are the types of leaders that Max and I are, and those are the types of leaders that we will be bringing into the 70th session.
And on top of that, we've brought results. We're the heads of the assembly as the speaker and speaker pro tempore. And if you look back in past sessions, we used to struggle constantly to meet quorum. We have had almost no quorum problems throughout the entire 69th session, and that's something that speaks toward how well we've been running the Student Government Assembly, and we've passed record numbers of bills.
And our final question to the two of you is, the university recently conducted their academic portfolio review with multiple majors seeing cuts. What is your message to students affected by these cuts?
Yeah, so one thing worth mentioning about these cuts is that the provost cited that it was due to lack of student engagement in these majors. And obviously, these majors are extremely valuable to the students because we saw all the backlash that happened when these programs were paused. And one thing that we did in student government is we worked to have initiatives and events to raise awareness for these majors, to get more people enrolled in these majors, because that's how you stop them from being closed and paused. Another thing that's worth mentioning is both of us serve on University Senate, and the University Senate talked about these program closures in a very extensive manner, and we were working on a bill to pass to make sure that the portfolio review and the power to sunset courses went through the University Senate and the faculty and the students, as well as just the administrators, and we're actively working to get that resolution passed right now.
Emily and Max, thank you. That concludes our first round of questions. After the break, we will begin our lightning round of questions for the candidates.
We'll be right back here on Citrus TV.
Hi, my name is Sadie Miller.
My name is Luke Brady. I go by St. Luke.
So this one I started with this guitar lick.
Women are bad with money.
That's what the world's been saying for centuries.
But now, we've got something to say.
Save it. Save the old-fashioned advice.
the empty excuses.
It's all worthless, unlike us.
To our fellow females, it is time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Contributing to our futures, investing in our independence.
Until we're no longer 80%
more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
So again, we say to that, save it.
The falsehoods, the feelings of fault, then the funds.
Learn how to save for your retirement at wesaysaveit.org.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the Student Government Association Executive Debate, presented by CitrusTV.
Thank you for staying with us here on CitrusTV. We will now begin the lightning round of questions.
Candidates will be asked a series of short questions, and their answers are limited to 1 minute. First off, when your term begins, what would be your first order of business?
I believe our first order of business will be appointing that press secretary. We have seen that a huge issue across the last few years in the Student Government Association is students not knowing that we are the student government for them. They don't know the resources we've provided. Many of them don't even know the events that we are putting on. So increasing that transparency between a press secretary that will be giving those updates on a very weekly basis, meeting with the news outlets, making sure that we are reaching every student on campus is a top priority and something we'll be doing from day one.
How do you view yourselves as leaders?
Yeah, so we're very collaborative leaders. We work with each other for almost every decision that we make, especially in the Student Government Assembly, and we listen, that comes with collaboration. We listen to the students in making all these decisions.
We are also very strategic. These roles are very demanding, and there's no lie about that. It requires a lot from the student and countless hours. With that, it's making sure that we are making the right decisions, talking it through not only with each other, but with our teams, making sure that we have a variety of voices giving input so that once we are making these decisions that are affecting the student body, we are making the best possible decision.
What is one life experience that you believe has helped you in your positions so far and future positions in SGA?
As the daughter of Venezuelan and Salvadoran immigrants, having to watch my family struggle to meet just bare minimum, to having them seeing the countless hours they putting into work and how much they emphasize the importance of receiving an education has transformed how I view life, how I go through my classes, how I show up for my students. That is something that I carry with me in a very deep level, and it's something I will continue to aspire to as I step into this role.
For me, the same grandfather that I talked to you about, who was an inspiration to me, recently this past year, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and really dealing with the adversity of this has been really tough, but it's really impacted the way that I do everything.
What kind of impact are you hoping to leave on this university?
As someone who, as I've stated before, is first generation and Latina, I've understand the times where you feel you're walking into spaces and you don't feel welcomed. Having lived through those experiences, I want to make sure that every student on this campus, no matter their background religiously, culturally, politically, that they know they're welcomed here, that they have the space for them, and that they are leaving proud to be Orange.
And we want to make sure that everything that we are doing is permanent and lasting. And the way we're going to do this is to codify almost everything that we are doing to ensure that it lasts through multiple student government sessions, not just ending when we're gone.
And you're not gone yet, so for your time that you've been here at Syracuse, what's been your favorite on-campus memory?
For me, freshman year, I lived in the Maxwell LLC in Lawrenson, and being from Miami, I have never once experienced snow in my lifetime. So that first snowfall, I remember just absolutely freaking out and getting everyone from my floor, and I had a sled in my room that my posse mentor gave me, and everyone on my floor in my Maxwell LLC, we headed over to Krause, and we started sledding for maybe 2 or 3 hours, and it was an amazing experience as my first time seeing snow, but just one of those really true bonding experiences that I'll carry with me long after I graduate from here.
As some of you may know, along with Ryan Boucher, I'm a member of the Pi Kappa Alpha Chi chapter at Syracuse University, and one of the most amazing moments of my entire life was the day we got chartered at the school. It was one of the most amazing experiences that I have ever had the privilege of being at, and doing so much work to put on that event. It was really amazing to see it come together.
Switching gears a little bit, what do you value most in a professional and working environment?
A leader who listens. When you are in these spaces, collaboration and teamwork is something that I hold very dear to my heart. I believe it is the most important thing when you are effectively working in a team, and working in those environments where you have a leader, a coworker who listens to you, who listens to your ideas. That is something truly valuable to me, and something that Max and I will carry on into the next administration, as the current president and executive vice president have done for us.
What quality do you feel you best bring to the table?
The quality that I feel I best bring to the table is a different perspective. I feel like we've seen so many perspectives of this echo chamber of Maxwell and Newhouse students, and it's really tough to get people involved in student government that student government isn't pre-professional for them. And that's something that I feel as if I've been able to bring this unique perspective, and it's allowed me to bring different events like the EKG screening and the farmers market that people have turned a blind eye to, but with a unique perspective comes unique ideas.
And how has the Syracuse community given back to the Student Government Association?
Yeah, the Syracuse community, the Syracuse University community has given back to the Student Government Association because every time that we throw an event and it's a success, the students are always so grateful to us for putting it on, and that's something something very impactful to me when I get to see how grateful these students are for the events that we're putting on, the ones that show up, obviously, because transparency and their presence is still an issue, and there are lots of students that aren't able to experience these great events still.
And finally, what do you love about the Student Government Association?
I love this question. For the Student Government Association, it has completely transformed my life. I have met so many incredible people who have not only helped me grow as a person, but as a student, as a leader. They've been there for me in times where I was low. They've been there cheering me. As you can see, the huge crowd of student government members right there. They are my biggest supporters, and being able to be in an organization surrounded by a team of amazing students, amazing people who I know I could always count on, is something that I've loved about this, and I want to make sure that every student on campus knows that they also have the opportunity to grow to experience it.
Yeah, and honestly, just to build on that, the community at student government that we've been able to be a part of is something truly amazing, and it's where I've met some of my closest friends, and that's something I wouldn't take back for the world.
And that concludes our 2 rounds of questions for the presidential and vice presidential candidates. The pair now has 2 minutes for their closing statements. Emily and Max, the floor is once again yours.
Thank you to everyone who gave us their evening. Whether you're here in the room or watching from home, tonight we've covered a lot of ground: policies, challenges, and the future of campus life. And look, I know what you're thinking. Another pair of candidates making promises at a debate. We get it. We've sat in those seats too. But here's the difference. We are a results-first ticket, and that is not something that we say lightly. This university is my hometown and our community, and we love it too much to leave its potential on the table. Promise to Progress isn't just a slogan. Connected, clear, and committed is going to be a blueprint by which we run the 70th session. We will cut through red tape, build real transparency, and make sure your voices lead the conversations with the new administration. From day one, every single promise that we've made tonight goes up on a whiteboard in our office. We'll erase them one by one as we deliver these promises, and by the end of the 70th session, we plan to have a blank whiteboard. That is our commitment to you.
Committed to the Orange experience, to my fellow student, neighbor, friend, colleague, and coworker, to the ones who came before us, Hidman, Janice, and Alexis, thank you for showing up every day, even in the days where your voices felt unheard. Your resilience built the foundation upon which we stand here today. And to those here tonight, this campaign has never been just about us. It's about every student who has ever felt overlooked, every student who has questioned whether their voice matters, and every student who is still waiting for change to reach them. As a first-generation Latina student, I know what it means to walk into spaces that weren't always built with you in mind. But I've also known the power of refusing to shrink in those spaces and instead working to transform them. That is the kind of leadership I bring, and that is the kind of leadership we promise. Max and I aren't running to maintain the status quo. We are running to challenge it, to improve it, and to make it work for you. So tonight we ask for your trust, not just in our words, but in our commitment to follow through. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about a campaign, it's about what we build together. Let's turn promise into progress. Thank you.
Emily and Max, thank you. Before we turn things back over to Thalia, we want to share with you some information on how to vote in this year's election.
Voting for the candidates will open at noon on Monday, March 30th, and will close on Friday, April 3rd at 11:59 p.m. To vote, students can go to the Q's activities link sent to their campus emails and posted on the SGA Instagram. SGA will also be tabling in Byrd Library all throughout next week for anybody with questions.
SGA will also be offering incentives to students who vote. You can follow the Student Government Association at Q's SGA on Instagram for updates. We now turn it over to Thalia to conclude the debate.
First of all, I want to thank our candidates for speaking to an audience. I know that is scary, but your strength is shown in your actions here tonight. First of all, I want to thank CitrusTV for hosting us, for the National Veterans Resource Center for having us. Thank you to all. I'm very excited for the election cycle. We'll have some voting information coming up soon, but thank you again, and I hope you stay engaged.
And that is all for the 2026 Student Government Association Executive Debate. Thank you again for watching on Citrus TV. You can follow us on X and Instagram at CitrusTV News. I'm Jackson Breslin.
And I'm Isabella Galan. Have a great night, Syracuse.